Well, I think, through much of my life, certainly the last 30-some years, I've been working to try to create enough affordable housing for people who need housing, to end homelessness. And I think that many people are skeptical about, can we end homelessness? I don't know that we can absolutely say that there's not going to be another homeless person in our community or in the city, but I know that we can end homelessness as we have come to know it for the last 30 years. We don't need to have hundreds and hundreds of people who are homeless in Duluth every night and thousands in the Twin Cities. Most of those shelters that exist in our cities in Minnesota and around the United States did not exist prior to 1980. And it's not that we didn't have homeless people, in the 60s and 70s and 50s. But to have a period of homelessness like we have today, we'd have to go back to the Great Depression of the 30s and the early 40s. We know how to end it. There's many things that we know how to do now that could dramatically reduce homelessness. But what we need is a real commitment from citizens, from institutions, from our faith community, and from our elected officials to say, we are going to take these steps to end homelessness. And the other kind of amazing thing that I learned from a lot of my Republican friends over the last 8 years is that many of these practices that we could put into work actually save the government money. Homelessness isn't free. When people are homeless, they use emergency rooms. They wind up in our jails. They wind up in a lot of our institutions, and we pay the bills. We as citizens, we as taxpayers, we the government, we as institutions, the hospitals, and so on. And particularly for people who are chronically homeless, that is really, really expensive. As most of us know, one visit to the emergency room can be a couple $1,000s. 1 year in county jail can be over $40,000. All the police, all the court, that's involved in that process. So we know that we can actually save money with a significant group of folks who are chronically homeless. And they could live in a decent place, and for many of them could put their lives back together in a variety of good ways. So that's probably the issue that I have felt most strongly and passionately about the last 30 years. I do think that there is a role for government in helping to facilitate that, helping to make it happen, but it can't just be the government's role. Clearly we know that there are many wonderful social service agencies, most all of them private, who run shelters and run soup kitchens and run a variety of facilities for people who are poor, hungry, and homeless. They raise money, they have volunteers, they have staff that work for very little, and we need that, but we need a lot more people engaged in this process. There's got to be more people who are involved in a variety of ways, whether it's giving money, whether it's giving time, whether it's building political support. That's what we need. Frankly, it starts with people actually being hospitable and kind to those folks that we run into on the streets, by saying hello, by offering to buy a hamburger, for someone, for, being human to one another. That's really where it starts. And I think if more of us could be involved in just that starting point, that would be great. And that would lead us to, I think, significant social change.